Run, party, repeat. Welcome to the East Coast Adventures Dirt and Vert podcast, where we talk all things running, racing, and training to help you get ready for your next big adventure.
Learn from our successes and our failures, and have fun at the same time. Join us along with a few of our favorite friends right here every week. And remember, nobody cares.
Run faster! Alright, welcome back everybody with East Coast Adventures and the Dirt and Vert podcast. I'm David.
And I'm Matt. We're going to talk about the Dirt Circuit. It's a ultra event with 3, 6, 12, and 24-hour timed options. It was held in Morristown, Tennessee at the Panther Creek State Park. And the funny thing is, this originally wasn't our event, but we kind of took it over. And David, you want to tell them exactly how that happened?
Yeah, so that was kind of in my stint of races there in Q3 and Q4. When I did the Georgia Jewel, No Business, Dirt Circuit was in the middle of that, Buffalo Mountain. But when I ran Dirt Circuit, that's when I met Ryan Roma and Anna, and they are Dirty Bird events, so they used to help or put on some of the Xterra races. Now it's the Modus, and then some of their other events. But it was their last year they were going to put it on, so it was the 10th year, which is really the reason I decided to run it. There wasn't even a 24-hour event. They were kind of phasing everything out, so it was the last year. So I signed up for the 12-hour. And funny story, while I was running, Micah is over there talking to Ryan from Dirty Bird about, East Coast Adventures, and you should talk to these guys. They'll take the race over. They'll do a great job. You should really, really be talking to them. I think that it would fit their wheelhouse real good. It's like Fort Frenzy. And so when I finished the race, 12 hours later, and was pretty tired after that, but we talked about it, and then we ended up me, you, and Mike, we all met with Ryan and talked, and everything worked out great. So we took that event over, and this is the first year, so we've kind of breathed new life into it. Like I said, it was just a 6 and 12 hour last year, but pretty cool to sign up for a race. You think it's going to be the very last time it's put on. You win it, 69 miles in 12 hours. It's also where I met Emmanuel, who's come a long way and ran it again this year. But it's just kind of cool to see how all of that happened, being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, that's definitely exciting that, everybody, even the local people that's been running this race for, 10 years, thought, hey, this is the last year. And then all of a sudden they're like, whoa, we got 11th year. And you noticed that out there. You had a lot of the same people that had been doing this that came back, and they were just so excited because they, every year, like one lady had been doing it every year, and then she found out it was coming back, and she signed up immediately, which is it's pretty cool that there's a family around that event. It's kind of like what we got at the Ford and others, but this is a little bit farther away from us, like 2 hours. So meeting new people and bringing them in, and showing that we love racing and we love pushing people. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's really a PR course. That's the thing about it. It's a 2.9 mile loop with less than 290 feet of elevation gain. It's all really runnable. We saw a lot of people hit their PRs. We saw some course records get broke. We saw some people battle some really hard demons. So it was. All in all, we took a race that was kind of being faded out and brought nearly 100 runners back this year. So it was awesome to see all the tents. We had a tent city out there with all the easy ups, and I think everybody just had a really good time. But the course is really nice. It's in Panther Creek State Park, so that trail is pretty manicured.
Yeah, that trail was it's pretty wide in almost every part of it, except for like maybe just a little bit. So if you don't feel comfortable on single track, this is wide. So you should feel pretty safe out there, and there's not much elevation, so you can really roll on it. When me and Mary went out and actually ran it, it's like, whoa, you could really fly on this course, and a few people did. They went really fast.
Well, and that was one of the things that, early on when we knew we were taking the race over and we got the date set, I reached out to Josh and Casey. I'd already talked to Josh about it when we were running Ohio with the Backyard Ultra. Casey, I started messaging. I was trying to get some people out that, hopefully would contend for that belt buckle over 100 miles and, possibly set the new course record. And Josh did. Casey did a great job. He ran 100 miles. He got the belt buckle. Josh Laker, he had a big goal of 130 miles?
130 miles in 24 hours.
And he finished with 121.8 and had time to go back out if he wanted to.
He did.
To get another 2.9, but chose not to.
Yeah. He wanted to see if he could actually beat the 24-hour clock when on that last lap, and he still had seconds left.
But it was a pretty awesome weekend. So it's just so cool and so humbling to see that the amount of people that we even got a message today from one of the runners and said, thank you for what you all do.
Yeah.
You're changing lives.
Yeah.
And that's why we started this, was to help bring this closer to our area, but also just try to get more people involved. And I think we're doing a really good job with that part.
You see people that years ago or even months ago, they just started running or they wasn't even running, and then they see us do it over and over and over, and they're like, well, maybe I can do that. And then they go out and try it, and then all of a sudden you get these people that are hooked, and it's awesome because they're changing the way they used to think, and now they're out there doing hard things, pushing their bodies. And it's addictive. It really is.
Well, I think almost every ultra beginner story starts out the same. You got this friend that talks you into doing a 50K or a 12-hour or a 6-hour.
6 hour.
And you're like, yeah, I think I can do that. Yeah. And then 4 hours in, you're cussing that friend, and you hate every minute of it. And the last hour, you're walking and just all in your head, and then the next day you wake up and you're never going to run again. Then the next day you wake up, you open your phone up and start looking on UltraSignup for your next race.
Well, that's kind of what happened when you guys put on the Fort the first year. You had that 5K in a 6 hour, and I'm like, I can run for 6 hours. That doesn't sound hard. Until you got out there and you're like 3 hours in, and then you start cramping up and you can't figure out what's wrong with you. And then you walk and jog and cramp up everywhere for the next 3.
And look at you now.
I know it.
Wow.
See, it was addictive.
Huge difference.
So once you figure it out, you start looking for more, trying to figure it out. And then these dudes are talking and running 314 miles across the state.
So what would you say the Matthew back then versus the Matthew now? What's like 2 of the biggest things you've learned?
Just keep doing it. Back then it's like, why can't I do this? And now I can, for the most part. Still learning, but I would just say keep doing it. Just keep going, don't stop, and learn from it. Ask questions and just keep going to different events, and you'll get better. Some people, when they first start it and they don't do great, and they're like, well, I ain't doing this no more. I failed at it, or I'm not going to do it. No, you go back out to another one, and then you'll get better, and you'll get better, and you'll get better, and then all of a sudden you'll start winning stuff, or like podium, and it's pretty awesome.
It is. It's humbling, and
it is.
And the amount of people that you meet, in the ultra running community is just amazing. There's so many cool people out there. People with Guinness records. People that have broken all kinds of FKTs. We got one guy that runs in some of our events. He has the Guinness World Record for the most ultra runs total, period. He's like getting close to 800. That's Rob Apple, and I think he's even been in Ultra Runner magazine.
He just hit 791 over the weekend.
That is amazing.
It is.
It's absolutely amazing. So just to see the grit that some of these people have. But the race this past weekend, it was, it was the same. We saw a lot of grit. Wow. It was great weather, but
it was perfect weather.
we saw some people throw up some huge PRs.
Oh yeah,
it was amazing. Some people that hadn't even ran an ultra ran 40 and 50 miles.
Like a lot of people when they got done, you're asking them, how was it? This is PR. Like, oh yeah, this is a big PR. Like, how many? Oh, I've only done like 20 miles. You just hit 50 miles, dude. Like that's a big accomplishment if you've never even ran that, and now you're out there putting up 50 miles, and you still look good when you got done. Like they weren't just hobbling over. Like if they did the 24, they probably could have got 70, maybe 80 miles because they looked that good when they got done. And I think they underestimated themselves. But once they got done, they were just ecstatic. Like, wow, I did it. And it was awesome to see. Like that guy you used to work with who had changed his whole life, and now he's out there running like crazy.
Brent?
Yeah.
Willie Nelson.
I mean, it was crazy because he came through every time just looking smooth. Just coming in loving it. Just big smile on his face.
Yeah, and his longest run was in the 20s.
I mean, that's crazy.
He ran, 40
yeah, he almost got 50.
Miles?
He was right at the 50 mark almost. Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
That is pretty impressive. And then...
All right, so let me ask you a question. What was to you, like, what was your favorite thing that happened over the entire event? Like, what's the most memorable one to you?
I would say Micah. When, he came in, 30 minutes left or something before the 24-hour, and that was his longest run. He done, 40, maybe?
Yeah, guys, so Micah, his longest run was maybe 40-ish miles.
Yes, something around there.
And then he signed up for the 24-hour, and he made the mistake of telling us that his goal was to be moving when that 24-hour clock hit. So I'll let Matt finish the story.
So he comes in at 23:30 or something around there. I'm not sure the exact number. And he just looked at us and said, I'm done. And we all looked at him, and everybody in that corral said, no, you're not. Go. And he had that look on his face like, man, I got to go back out. And he turns around and walks back to Thomas, which is pacing him at this time, Thomas Booker. I think Thomas really helped him through the night and all that.
Absolutely.
But he looked at Thomas and said, I'm going back out. And it was that simple. Once he said, he wanted to be there for 24 hours, and he let us know that, and we held him accountable, he turned around and said, I'm going back. And then once he came across that finish line, I mean, the emotion that was on his face for doing something so hard, he met his goal of being there for 24 hours. He got PRs, and he pushed himself. And, I mean, that there, I captured some of those pictures, but seeing it in person, it meant a lot that he actually went out there and did what he wanted to do and pushed himself. So
he had almost 93 miles. I mean, so think about this. Like, the longest run ever was 40-ish miles. Mm-hmm. So at night, he come in the middle of the night, his feet were just on fire. They were messed up. He had blisters. So, we pull out the med kit. We start taking care of his feet.
Yep.
He's asking me, like, what tape to put there. So we put some KT tape after he popped his blisters and kind of put stuff around his heel and got him back out there. But, like, that is stuff that you've never had to deal with if you've not ran past 50 miles.
Yep.
You've not, most people, and you've not felt some of those pains, especially at night when you're by yourself.
Oh, yeah, nighttime will drag you down.
Yeah, so, Micah just kept fighting, and he kept fighting back, and no matter what, you could see the look of pain on his face all night.
Yep.
But he absolutely never stopped, and that's what it takes, and that's a big difference between someone who finishes a 100-miler and someone who DNFs it, is that he just kept moving.
Yep.
I mean, to go from 40 miles to 92.8 in 24 hours, I mean, he could have easily done 100 miles.
Yep.
I mean, it's like he said, his next goal is a buckle.
Yeah.
But I can't wait. I've not got to look through all of Nick's pictures, but I can't wait to see all the pictures of Micah, because I'm sure that he captured some of those throughout the night, and I can't wait to see some of them, especially as it was getting dark.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of a little bit of an unknown for Micah at that point, but man, he managed it well.
Well, even when we do races, the nighttime is where the struggle starts. You always want to be able to pick it up at night, but a lot of the time, the night is where you're like, man, there's no sun. You're usually by yourself because the 3, 6, and 12 is over with. And the 24 hours you had people, dropping early or you had gaps in runners. So you're by yourself.
I'm used to being by myself in every race, Matt. So.
But when you're by yourself, you're more capable of walking, taking your time, not going forward as fast as you could. So, but Micah, he held strong and he got it done.
Yeah, and that's what it takes. You eventually get to the point, like he walked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He did run some, but he walked a lot, but he kept going, and that's what matters.
That's what matters.
But eventually, what you have to do is take that next step, and that is learn to tell yourself that it's going to hurt.
Yep.
Whether I walk or I run.
Yep.
So how long do I want to be out here? And I still have to remind myself that a lot. And I finished 9 or 10 milers now at this point, and I still go through that same thing every time. Like somewhere between mile 70 and 90, you better believe that David Compton's out there, yelling at himself and having the same conversation, and I'm sure you are too.
Oh, I yell at myself a lot when I'm running.
There's no amount of training that's going to make 100-mile not hurt.
Yeah, it's going to hurt.
It's always going to hurt. It's just different, as you get fitter and your fitness increases and you do other things, that pain starts later.
Yeah.
But that pain is still there. So it's up to you to be able to manage it. And I'm just impressed with Micah and how he did that his very first time. A lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, that was, 40 miles to 92. It's a big jump.
Yeah, and hats off to Thomas Booker, who came in and ran with him all night. Thomas is, he's a warrior, man. He just hung in there and took care of Micah like it was nothing, and it was awesome to see that camaraderie. You know?
As Micah was coming in, he'd hand me his water bottle. I'd fill it up for him, and he would start walking to wherever his stuff was at, and he'd be like, "Hey, just give it to Thomas." And Thomas would come in, get his drink, and then he would get Micah's, and then he'd just run down there to him and hand it to him. And you could see, Thomas was there to make sure Micah was moving. And then Micah didn't have his poles. Thomas had poles. Thomas let him use his poles.
See,
and
it's just amazing.
It is.
It's like Micah said it perfect. And for those of you that don't know, we put on many races at this point, and we still forget something every race. We just suck at that. It's like we got this huge trailer, and we pack everything up in it, and we're like, all right, we got everything. Well, guys, when we got to dirt circuit, we forgot to hold top of these up. And it's just started raining.
Yep.
Mike and Matt's texted me, and I'm like, uh-oh. But, Matt's wife, Brittany, drove that thing from Madisonville all the way to us. She got it out of the building at my house, then drove all the way to Morristown and brought it to us. But we were struggling there for a minute. We were like, can Mary bring it? Can Brittany bring it? Can David Kyle bring it? So with that being said, as many races as we put on, we still somehow seem to forget something every race.
Yeah, we do.
But at some point, we'll get this right. But that is the infectious part, is it takes a family, and you eventually become a family. And, like the things that we've got to watch and see and people grow. Take, for instance, Zach Fleener. Zach's a guy that I met last year at the dirt circuit. Every lap when I went by him, I talked to him. He was in a lot of pain. He was walking, but man, he was still going. He was like Micah. He was just still going.
Mm-hmm.
But he's trained, he's asked questions, he's learned, and he comes in this year and takes the podium for the 12-hour.
Yep.
He's third place, and he runs 52.2 miles. Guys, that shows you that the work that you put in can drastically change the next progression, the next year. Like, saying tomorrow, it's never going to get you here. Like, Zach put in the work and he was ready. I mean, he got the taste of that last year, and he wasn't going to let it happen again, and that was Micah.
Yep.
Micah had a bad run at Iron Mountain?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
I think that's what
he had a bad run there, so like he was upset, and like this was his redemption, and man, he did it. And same for Zach, same for Emmanuel. Yeah. Me and Emmanuel were racing each other last year for the podium, for the first place, and and about 10 hours in, Emmanuel started cramping up really bad. But here's how talented of a runner Emmanuel is. Wasn't taking electrolytes, nothing. Like, he didn't know anything about chafing ointment, anything. He was just out there running, and that is so impressive. So, like, I come by hour 10, and he's, like, over there, and he's massaging his legs and stuff, and he's trying to get back, and he said he was cramping. I literally just gave him my whole bottle of electrolytes, and I said, start taking those now. Have you taken anything? He's like, no, I didn't know. He comes back this year. He's asked multiple questions. He's ran multiple events of us. He won the whole 12-hour race. He was 58 miles in 12 hours. That's pretty impressive.
Yep.
And, he put the work in. And now he's going to Moab 240.
Moab 240.
So I love seeing how much people are growing and what it's doing in the community, and just how infectious it is. It just starts spreading and growing. I've met so many cool people in the trail and ultra running community. It's just awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely going up there, we meet a lot of different people. Not the same group that's usually down here with us. So to see them push themselves and grow is definitely something that I'm looking forward to for next year. I'm looking, those same people come back next year in a whole nother year of training and see what they can do.
Yeah. And just like when you were talking about Brent, Willie Nelson,
yeah.
I worked with him in 2012. I haven't seen him since then. And he shows up to our event, we're talking. He still looks the same as far as, facial features, but as far as body and fitness, this guy has lost 100 plus pounds.
Yeah.
He looks amazing. And his longest run was like 20-ish miles.
Yeah.
And they just done it a few weeks prior. Him, they come out and run 40. I think he got 47, and the other gentleman got 50.
Yep.
That's just absolutely
and they both
awesome.
look great the whole night.
Yes. That's was it Ed? No, that wasn't.
Ed was the second place 12-hour.
Yeah. Which he was awesome too. That guy, man, he was just so consistent. You would
68
never known that he was like just slowly taking over. Because he was like just so consistent.
He said he ran the event 2 times before, and he was from Kentucky. There's a lot of Kentucky folks that came down since we're kind of right there close to it. And he was 68 years old, and he ran that much. Like, he looked good the whole time. Every time he'd come in, he'd smile and wave his hand. Smile and wave. And he just kept going. It amazed me, honestly. I was very surprised.
Yeah. There was a lot of good runners. We had, one of the other things that was cool that happened was Morgan, a 12-hour runner that was in the race. This was probably like, 4 hours in.
Yeah.
She gets stung by hornets,
yep.
And we had no idea. Because, the course was, it's quarter mile on down, maybe a half a mile on down to that bridge.
Yeah.
Somewhere up the bridge. But she comes through on the next lap, and she's like, just real quiet. She runs by, and, I think it was me and Mary was standing there, and she just looked at Mary, and she's like, I don't know exactly what she said. I just heard from Mary, but she was like, there's hornets.
Yeah.
I just got stung past the bridge in that loop. I just want to make sure that no one else gets stung. I'm not worried about me, but it's the other runners, and just kept going.
Yep.
That did not faze her.
Yep.
And to me, she was more worried about the other runners
than
she was herself. And that's the stuff that you this world's missing quite a bit. Like that compassion, that camaraderie, and man, we just get to live it up in these races because, people are just so compassionate and so helpful. From the volunteers to everything else. I mean, we got Tony and Kathy and Mary and Brittany, and
now we got Sonia.
And Sonia, I was gonna say Sonia has followed us multiple races.
Oh yeah, she's
awesome.
Doing great. What she had to do a 5K that morning, then she came and hung out with us pretty much all night until the next morning.
Yeah, and she took shifts with us so we could all sleep.
Yep, she cooked food, and she's been great. And she'll be helping us at our next event at the Firewater Aid Station.
Yeah, we're pretty blessed.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, let's go through the results of everybody at this point. Just the top 3 from each category, male and female, and give everybody a little kudos here.
Okay, so in the 3-hour female, we had Sophia. I'm not sure how you say her last name, Etienne maybe. But she put up 23.2 miles, and she's the overall. She was flying. You could tell every lap she was just going. And then Lauren Clowers, she's a long-time runner of ours. She's done three times in a row. And then Cody Webb, she put up 20.3. Her and Lauren both put up 20.3. And then for the 3-hour male, we got Jose Barreras. He put up 17.4, and then Mark Armstrong, 17.4, and Eric Inman, 17.4. And Eric's run multiple of our events as well, and he'll be at Firewater. Then our 6-hour female, we got Melinda. Melinda is strong. She is just consistent. She put up 31.9. She put up a 50K.
There's another runner that we're pretty fortunate to have with us as a volunteer when she's not running. Yes, and she's a great runner too.
She's a very outspoken East Coast supporter, and it's pretty awesome. And then we got Keena Lundy. She put up 29 miles. And then Lindsay Gardner put up 23.2 miles. And then for the 6-hour, we got Gary Budd, put up 34.8. And then the hybrid athlete himself, Matt Blankenship, put up 29 miles. And then Dustin Lundy put up 29 miles as well. Tell him about Matt. Tell him what exactly he is.
Yeah, so Matt, and just like, who was the other hybrid athlete?
There was a bunch of them out there this week.
Was it Josh? Was that his name?
There was a few of them. They were huge and jacked.
There were several, but Matt's a guy that, he got into powerlifting, and he's won a bunch of Masters world record. He's broke some world records and won the world championships. He's a pretty impressive athlete overall. I think he even played college football for Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
Back in the day. But his wife, Casey, who has been with us for a while, she runs most of our events. She's a really great runner. She's pretty awesome, but she's convinced Matt into running. And one of the best laps I had was from Matt over the course of the race, because he's 12-hour, right?
6-hour.
That's right. 6. Was it 6 hour?
Yeah.
But what's funny is Matt come in, and this was like hour 4, maybe close to hour 5. He just comes in, and he grabs his water. He's like, I hate running. And I said, you're doing good, man. What are you talking about? He's like, I'm not gonna hobbit out here. Look at me. I've already fell. I'm covered in grass and mud. He's like, just call me Frodo. And he starts hobbling off, and I just started dying laughing. Me and Mary both, because it was just so funny. And that's one of his comments on Facebook. When I commented on him, he sent a picture of the Hobbit. So it was just hilarious. But, this guy's went from powerlifting to running. And, he podiumed.
I know.
That's pretty impressive. So, I
make a joke with him about him being a Prius because he's a hybrid athlete. And he gets a pretty good laugh out of it. But, he's came a long way.
Yes.
And he's consistent now. I don't know if he enjoys it, but he's getting pretty good at it.
He is. So, I'm sure he's hooked.
Yeah.
If not, he will be.
He's doing Firewater next, so he's hooked.
Well, let's move on to was that all on your list?
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the 12-hour female. So first place was Brittany McCarthy with 49.3 miles. Man, she was just solid.
She was.
She ran a strong race. That's just amazing. Louisa Hawking coming in second with 37.7. And Kimberly Livesay for third place with 34.8 miles. So kudos to you ladies.
You know, I actually think that those first two are repeat runners of the dirt circuit.
Are they?
I'm pretty sure.
I think you're right. 12-hour male, we have first place Emmanuel Estrada. He's extremely excited about that with 58 miles.
Yes, he was.
Second place was Ed Kirk. This was the gentleman we were talking about earlier. He was just, the older gentleman, he's just so consistent. Man, he just snuck up on everybody.
Yep. With
55.1 miles in 12 hours. And then third place, Zach, who we was talking about earlier, with 52.2 miles, so top three.
Did you hear the story about him?
Who?
Zach. So his goal was 50. When he came across the finish line, he said, I'm done. Well, you know how we are. We push.
Oh, yeah.
And we want them to get all the credit for their miles. Tony radios down to me and says, hey, if Zach goes back out, he secures third place. If he doesn't, the other guy's going to come in with enough time. He's going to pass him. So here I go, running down through there to the other end of that field, wherever he was parked at. And he's walking back towards me, and I said, I got bad news for you. And he goes, what? I said, you got to go back out if you want third place. His look. And he turns around, didn't second guess it, and took off.
Now, I heard this part. He took off without a headlamp,
with
right?
no headlamp.
And it's dark?
With no headlamp. And it is dark. Like, at that lap that he made it in, he was pushing it. That next lap, he didn't make it with a headlamp, without a headlamp. He said he was high-stepping and everything. He said that's his fastest lap. His fastest lap with no light after he already ran 50 miles.
I mean, that just goes to show you a lot of it's in your head.
You got way more to give.
Yeah.
But he did great. Like, he didn't, after I told him that, he didn't sit there and try to no, he turned right around and went.
And then he was rewarded with locking his keys in the car, apparently. So I felt so bad for him.
Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some.
Oh, goodness. All right, so 24 female. We have a repeat runner who won the female division here. Sherry Gowelke, great runner. She's got a few. I think she ran a 200-miler not too long ago last year.
Wow.
Maybe at Ozone. But
yeah,
she finished with 63.8 miles. And then second place was Kathy Saylor, 55.1. And our unofficial third place would be the infamous Bandit, Kathy Smith. And then now moving on to the 24-hour male. Just an amazing performance by Josh Laker with 121.8 miles. That's also a new course record. Going to be a stout record to break for somebody. I mean, he was so consistent. Him and Jess, man, they've done so many backyard ultras, and they're a great team.
Yep.
She's got his nutrition dialed in. I mean, he's just consistent. I mean, Josh is an absolute great runner, and he proved that. I mean, he also was rocking the mustache, so by the end of the race, his nickname became
Prefontaine.
So everybody was calling him Prefontaine, but man, he killed it.
He was cruising. He had each lap. I think he was consistent the exact same amount of time each lap. And then he would come in, go to his tent, which was engulfed, nice and warm in there, and it was like a minute, 2 minutes maybe. And then he's right back out. And he wasn't walking when he left. He'd come out of there and run. Each time. And he just looked the exact same from start to finish. He might even got faster in the middle of the night. I'm not sure.
He was so consistent.
I think he had 60-something miles at like 11 and a half hours. When I was ever looking, asking, where people were at. And I'm pretty sure he was at 62 or something like that at 11 and a half. Maybe
I mean, he was right on his numbers for the most part, most of the time.
Yeah.
Second place, Casey George with 101.5 miles. So Josh and Casey are our two belt buckle earners. So they'll be getting the Panther belt buckle when it gets finished.
Well, he also looked fresh the whole night. He looked the exact same. He come in and he said, "Thank you guys, thank you." He was very nice about it all. But he looked same time, over and over. He looked good the whole time.
Yeah, Casey did. He said he had when I talked to him, he said he had a really low point at mile 50.
Yeah.
And I guess there was a little trash talk going on and got him fired up, and he took off, which it was like friendly trash talk, like camaraderie stuff, but just giving each other a hard time. But it was enough to get him back going. Casey's a strong runner. When I met him, we were doing the Zion 100. Me and him finished that one together, and we've done Ode to Laz together. And then Josh is another strong runner. I ran Kentucky last sole standing in the Ohio Backyard Ultra with Josh, and Josh won the Ohio Backyard Ultra. I think it, don't quote me exactly, but I think it was close to 300 miles.
I think he did 222.
222, okay.
Pretty sure that's what it was.
Okay.
222.
Well, it was in the 2s or 3s, I thought, but I couldn't remember.
2 is pretty good to me.
But, and just so everybody knows, Josh is going to be our guest next week.
Yep.
So we'll have him on here, let her meet him, kind of, if you have any questions, please shoot over to us. Josh is also, I believe, a running coach. So he can answer some questions for you all as well.
Cross-country coach as well.
Yep. But we'll have him on here next week. It'll be a really good interview. And then the following week, we're going to have Chris Stamen, who is a gentleman that broke the course record at Fort Frenzy. And he's actually the only person that has broke 100 miles on that course. And we're talking about another solid guy.
Yeah.
He looked like Josh Slaker at the Fort.
Yep.
He was just as strong as could be. He could have went longer, which is crazy.
So.
He broke 100 miles in 20 hours, I think.
It was early.
So, just two solid runners that we've been fortunate to have in our races that have, broke course records. But we'll have both of those guys on. So we'll have Josh Slaker on next week, and we'll try to have Chris Stamen on the following week. Should be some interesting stuff. But if you all have any questions about their races and who they are, please, or their training, etc., please definitely ask us. Any questions that you may have about their nutrition, etc., please just pass along to us.
Yeah, I think we had a few questions from Instagram as well, asking about the race and maybe making some jokes as well. I think we had...
where did we put those questions?
Where that paper went. Anyway, I'll pull them up right here. So we had...
here it is. I've got it.
You found it?
I'll read the question.
All right.
You'll love this one. Can the porta potties be moved closer? You're the porta potty guy, Matt. Why don't you answer that?
That ain't me, but I would say yes, because when I walked all the way across the whole field with soaking wet feet, it was not fun. So I would say that next year they will be somewhere right on course, so we're not walking across the field. That is, we'll say that's a promise. That will be very much closer.
Yeah, we've actually already found a location.
Yes,
so I think
that will be
in the shade.
Yes, so they won't be stinking.
All right. Next question: when is the date for Dirt Circuit next year?
I think we're going to try to keep it around the same time.
Yeah, so usually that will be the third week of September is what we're going to shoot for. We'll be applying for the permit soon. So as soon as we get the permit approved with the state park, we'll get this race live on Ultra Sign Up.
Yep.
And then the last question, and this one wasn't directly from the post. This was another question I got today. But,
okay.
I passed along. I was going to use it. But how do you run through the pain in 100 miles, especially those last 25 miles? My last race, I ended up walking the last quarter of the race. So this is pretty common. I mean, Matt, do you what do you think on that? Like the last 25 miles for you at Georgia Jewel, how was that for you?
Well, I'll say the last 25 miles on that was rough. It was a lot of walking. But I would also say that it depends on what kind of race you're doing. So if it's more of a flatter race, I would just say consistent, maybe slowing it down so you can actually run that in. Like the track race, there were some parts when I did my 100 there that I would walk the corners, run everything else, walk the corners, run everything else. And then by the end of it, I was so pissed off because I wasn't done yet that I ran my fastest, 5K, something like that, of the whole time because I just wanted to be done the 100 miles. Mm-hmm. But I paced from the beginning to the end. On that, it's flat, so you can do that. Now, on those mountain things, I'm not exactly sure. You're more on that.
Here's the advice I would give and that I gave is that it's on you, mm-hmm. And that's a lot of people may not, when they do their first 100 or second 100, they may not be able to push themselves through that low point. Now, a low point and a low nutrition point are two different things. You're going to come and go, but that last 20 to 30 miles, I mean, it's something that you have to be able to tell yourself. Yeah. Like, you have to be able to say, I can walk, I can run, it's going to hurt either way. Yep. I'm going to choose to run, and that is your choice. You're choosing to walk. The walking in the end is going to hurt you more when you finish than the running, because your feet's going to take more of a beating. So you really have to find your why. You have to find out what's going to make you run. If you're behind on nutrition, you can fix that. Yep. Get to an aid station, fix that, work on it, see what you can do. When you have stomach issues, sometimes there's no fixing it. You just try to survive. But you can still try to get enough calories to make yourself run. And that's what I was doing at Georgia Jewel. I was, Sprite and water. Yeah. Just enough calories to keep me going. So when you hit those moments, you've got to be ready for them. And just like what we were talking about earlier with Micah hit those moments. He's never had that ever in a race. But now he's ready. He knows that's going to happen. But again, that is your choice. You can choose to push through that pain and run. And yeah, it's going to hurt. And it's probably going to hurt really bad. It's going to hurt worse than anything you've ever done. But when you cross that finish line 3 hours earlier, that is rest you earned. And, here's the thing to me, and this is what drives me in my race, any race that I do. And it's that tomorrow, I'm not going to remember all the pain. Yep. I really am not. Think about this, guys. Of all your races, like the next day when you wake up, do you wake up and think, man, that really hurt? Or do you think, I could have ran that. Yep. I could have ran this section. Yep. I should have ran this. I should have done that. And at some point, you have to stop giving yourself that excuse. Yep. And that's where I say it is your choice. You have to remind yourself of that. And I remind myself that in many races because there's a lot of races I just like to quit.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's a lot of that.
Because, there's a lot of highs and lows in a race. There are a lot of highs and lows, period. And you're in them. Yep. Whether you want to be or not, you're in them. How you navigate them and how you make your way through, that's different for everybody. What works for me isn't going to work for you. But at the end of the day, it's your choice. Yep. If you're going to walk it, you're going to walk it. You wake up the next day and you think about why you walked it. That's going to hurt you. That's the pain that you don't forget. The blister pain, the foot pain, the hip pain, the knee pain, it goes away.
It goes away.
Most of the time. Unless you damage something really bad. It does happen.
Like a phone?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm stealing. It's getting there.
Good, you got to bend it now.
But at the end of the day, the advice I give you is that you have to find your why and what's going to cause you and to push through that pain. It's up to you. All the training in the world is not going to get you ready for that. That is on you. You know, and I've had this conversation before with a runner in a track race. We can only help each other so much. At some point, it's on you.
Yeah.
So remember that. Like that in your next race, 20 miles left, what are you going to do? It's you. Yeah. It's your choice.
You make that decision when you're out there. Run, walk, or be out there forever.
And you can find an excuse not to fix your nutrition.
Oh, yeah.
You get in your head. You can find an excuse not to hydrate. You can find an excuse not to take nutrition. You can find an excuse to sit at that easy up for the next 25 minutes. You're going to remember that tomorrow.
No, you will. You'll sit there and you'll play the whole race back in your head. Well, if I ran here, if I hiked faster here, if I ate the food that was right there in front of me that I knew I wanted, but I just didn't, I don't need it. And you'll get, you need to get to your head. I mean, you'll sit there and think about it over and over. I've done it. I'm thinking, like, if I would have ran here, I knew I could have ran, but I was feeling bad for myself because I wasn't running as fast as I was earlier. And you do that enough, and you get pissed off at yourself.
Yeah.
And you'll find a way to fix it. If not, then you get a lot of self-talk you got to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, you want to wake up tomorrow with no regret. You want to wake up and think, I gave everything I had, and truly believe that.
Yep.
If you didn't, that's the demons you need to figure out in your next race.
Yep.
Because that will start to haunt you, and that is on you to fix.
Yep.
And all the training in the world isn't going to help you with that part. You can be as fit as you want to be, but when mile 85 hits and you don't feel like running, find your why.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, I don't really have anything else to cover. That's all of our questions.
We did have one more question.
Oh, what was that?
He asked, who is that sexy man with the mustache?
That's Pre.
No, I had to be Mr. Laker there.
Yeah.
Funny guy.
But they didn't know we would ask that question.
So what do you got coming up next?
For me, I have, you talking about race directing wise or running wise?
Well, let's go with running first.
Okay, so running No Business 100 next month. So I have been getting some messages from some people on drop bags and stuff. So I told them I would try to work on that and help them.
Yeah.
So when we're talking with Chris Stamen,
mm-hmm.
I think I'll go over some of my plans for No Business because he's running No Business. So I think it'd be good. Especially for our listeners that are running No Business, just so they have a little advice on what I'm doing anyways, whether you want to take it or not. Not that you should follow exactly what I'm doing by no means, but I at least do know the course. We're running it backwards this year, which is kind of cool, but that'll be my next event. I've been talking a lot with Mary on this, and I think I'm going to pull the plug on the rest of the year and not run anything. And my goal is going to be Southern States 200 next year. So I may squeeze in something in January or February just as a training run for like 50K. But I think my big focus is going to be Southern States 200. So I think I'm going to sign up for that one and send it.
Send it.
Try it.
So race directing, what do we got next?
We're timing a 5K the first weekend of October. The Loaves and Fishes 5K. Then we have the Very Scary 5K coming up in Townsend. And then we have the Barn Creek Backyard Ultra with the long run, which is the first weekend of November. Guys, I mean, this is going to be one cool backyard ultra. The course is going to be a PR course. It's a little bit of road, a little bit of trail, a little bit of gravel. Pretty awesome. Me and Ethan and Julia all went out and ran it. It's going to be a great course. But East Coast Adventures and the Long Run's teaming up for that one. Ethan and Julia already have the belt buckles. I mean, they're pretty awesome. If you haven't seen them, jump on our Facebook page and take a look. I'm currently working on the coin right now. We're either going to do a coin or a medal. So as soon as I get the proofs back on that, I'll send them over and we'll get moving on that piece. But it's just going to be a really fun time there.
The belt buckle does look really good. I was pretty surprised. Like the picture they showed, and then the belt buckle they got back looks identical.
Yeah, guys. So if you're looking for your first 100-miler and a belt buckle, this Backyard Ultra is going to be perfect for that, because all you have to do is run 4.1 miles every hour on the hour.
Sounds as you know.
Get a little break in between and just get 100 miles, and you're going to get a belt buckle. You don't have to keep going if you don't want to. But
people were actually talking about this at the dirt circuit. We had two gentlemen come up. Tony, I think he ran the 12-hour, and then I can't remember the guy's name that was with him. But he said, I asked him what they were doing next when they finished. He said, well, Tony's looking at this Backyard Ultra in Jamestown. I said, well, what's it called? He goes, Barn Creek Ultra. And I said, oh. So then we'll be there. He goes, you will? I said, yeah. I said, we're helping the long run with this one. I said, we're going to go in together and, promote it and all that stuff. And he said, oh, okay, great. He was excited. Once I said that, he was pretty, excited. I don't know if he's ever done a backyard, but yeah, he was excited about it.
Well, some people won't sign up for a race if they think it's the race director's first race. You know, like we had a little bit of that in our first year, but everybody, we're very experienced with this, and Ethan and Julia has ran enough races they are, so it's going to be a fun time. We're going to set up all the East Coast gear. The long run's bringing their stuff. I mean, it's going to be an awesome time. There's even camping there. Yeah. It's on private property. It's going to be awesome. So if you're not signed up, I suggest you do, because you're going to get to come hang out with us. And what more fun would you rather have?
Oh, yeah.
But it's going to be a good time. What about you? What you got next on the list for a race?
Firewater.
You going to run Firewater?
Yeah, I'm going to try to go out there and win it this year.
Well, I'll drink a beer as you run by, sir.
I'm gonna, it'd be my 4th time running it, and that was my first official 50K.
Yeah, so for all of y'all that don't know, I gave Matt the best motivational speech last year in his race, because I ran the relay with David Kyle, and Matt was having a rough time, so I gave him an awesome motivational speech.
Oh yeah, it was great. We had 5 miles left.
Yeah.
And I was dying, throwing up, and I was in 3rd at that time, which I held on to.
Yeah.
But
thanks to me, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he was yelling at me, so I had to run. He was like, "Yes, sir, I'm going." And yeah, he came flying by. He had fresh legs. He'd been running 7 miles.
Long 7 miles.
7 miles, and but that's my next race, and then after that, I think I got 1 half marathon at the end of the year, because we're going into marathon training.
Oh yes,
and we are going to do. Me and Mary are going to set this little game plan up, and we're actually going to do a marathon block, because I don't ever train for a marathon. It's usually ultra, do a half, run a marathon. But there's no big blocks. I think last year we did LC Backyard, and then I did a 10-miler the next week, and then 2 weeks after that it was the marathon, and that was my marathon training.
So I got an idea for your marathon. I think we should do this. So when you do your first official marathon through training and you're ready, I think you should dye half of your beard one color and the other half another color. Let's talk white and blue, or you can do all 3, red, white, and blue, and braid it.
We can do that.
I think you should do that.
Sounds pretty patriotic.
It is.
I think the first one.
We'll make sure Nick is there. We'll personally just have him be your photographer for that race.
I think that would be Chattanooga. I think that's the first one. The Chattanooga one. And then I think we have Knoxville 3 weeks later or something. And then we have Nashville, which is just a few weeks after that. And then we got a long period of time where it's going to be the Memphis one at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm calling it the Grand Slam of Tennessee Marathons. We're going to do the 4 biggest.
So are you trying to qualify for Boston, or are you just trying to run all of these?
Well, I want to qualify.
Okay.
But I want to run them all as well.
Gotcha.
We always got to find something stupid and hard to do. 314 and this other stuff. So I think that would be my 4 hard things, is to do all 4 of them in the year. And get better each time. But then after that, I don't know what I'm doing. No clue.
Take a little break.
Probably not.
Yeah, I know. It'll be good for me. I don't think I've taken this long of a break. I mean, I still think, this year has been an unusual year for me running. I've had something go wrong in every race, whereas last year everything went right. But I still think maybe I'm paying for a little bit of last year this year because I ran so much stuff so close together. I mean, we're talking like 400 milers in 2 or 3 months. So.
Yeah, that was rough. But, I mean, you podiumed about all of them.
Yeah, but I don't know if it was worth the rhabdo in January and then everything else that's happened. But, we're finally about back to normal. So I think I'm really going to focus on this 200 and give it, full training cycle, maybe 2.
Yeah, that's what, with the marathons, Mary's like, you actually need a marathon training block, man. I'm like, I've never done that. Let's give it a try. So, I mean, if I can I got to get 11 minutes off my time to qualify. Knoxville was 3:11, so I got to knock 11 minutes off, and I don't pick easy marathons. So these are hilly and hard.
Well, I think if you shave all the beard and the hair off, that's going to give you at least 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'll just run faster.
Yeah, you look like a smiley face coming down through
Oh
there.
man, I haven't shaved my beard since 2019. I don't think nobody wants to see that. Yep.
Well, all right. Well, the very last thing that we'll say is that the 24-hour mile finished with 3rd place, which we hadn't covered yet, was Micah Morgan, who we were talking about earlier. So that wraps up everything. We did have 2 relay teams.
Oh yeah.
Dirty Birds for the 12-hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Flying Buttresses for the 24-hour, and they broke the course record. So congratulations to them. We'll be sending out some awards to them as well.
And I think they were running for a cause. I think they were running for, Haiti. As from what I see them posting online, they're constantly, I think they ran that relay for like a Haiti fundraiser. So that's pretty cool.
They ran strong. They ran a great race. They were kind people too, so they were pretty awesome.
Yep.
All right, Matt. Well, I think for me that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
Nope. I think that's it. Till next time.
All right, guys. Well, all we can say is if you have any questions that you would like to ask Josh Slaker for next week's interview, please just pass them along in an IM or respond with comments. You can send them directly to me and Matt on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram. Yep.
But last thing we'll leave you with is nobody cares.
Run faster.